So today's topic is monetize being too much. Before I go further into the topic, for those of you who are new here, my name is Naima, founder of the Academy for Womanhood, where we help women grow up. And I know that's a very general statement, but essentially we're helping women who are tired of playing small and hiding and who have decided that they're done with hiding and playing small and running, with helping them to grow up. And I'm recording this on, what is today? Sometime in December. I think it's like December 17, 2024. Hello, YouTube. I'm currently streaming this live right now on TikTok, and then this will be uploaded onto YouTube as a replay. So hello, YouTube. You are welcome to post comments here on this video on YouTube. And if you're a TikTok person, feel welcome to come over and follow me on TikTok, which is at Naima Singletary. And we'll see what happens with if TikTok is actually going to shut down. And if it does, then we'll see what's up with me streaming over on YouTube more regularly, or on Facebook, because I'm going to be giving attention to Facebook as well. The topic about monetizing being too much, as a prelude to that, I'd like to share a little bit of a combination of the reinvention that I'm in right now to really, not just launch off strong January 1st as if, we're waiting till January 1st, because we're not. It's just being much more intentional and just leveraging the reality of 2024 ending and 2025 beginning, and looking at what you are looking to create genuinely, not like this excited, yeah, but like the deepness that happens when a woman talks out of her mouth to other powerful people, and she's deliberate versus sitting and thinking about it forever. And so leveraging the new year and reinventing, which requires a going deep into why you're even doing what you do, why you care, being very honest about what you want by starting with what you have, because what you have right now is what you want. And looking at, okay, what more or differently do you want for the new year and for your life, not even just the new year, for your life. And the conversations that are being had, particularly with melanin dominant women, there's lots of things that are talked about privately that are never talked about publicly. You're not going to see a TikTok video about it. You're not going to see content online about it. These are things that are happening. I'm cutting edge over here. What I bring forth is raw. I'm rare, truly. I don't say that to feel better than and important. So what happens is, because I bring cutting edge material to women like publicly, but even more so privately, because I take women more serious who pay money. Don't you take people more serious when they pay money? Yes. So I take women more serious when they pay money. So there's a quality of conversation that we have privately that we never have here, no matter how rich this may seem. And for a lot of people, this right here is enough for them, and that's fine. And so a lot of the conversations being had behind the scenes that I'll talk a little bit about here as it relates to the new year, reinventing, being sincere about your attention, what you're doing. What the fuck are you doing? Really? And if the thing is, well, I don't want to do shit. Like, the honesty is so important. So what's happening is, one, love. Love is top billing, people. Love is top billing, regardless of what comes out of people's mouth. Okay? Love is top billing, and it always will be. And here's the kicker. For the women who I'm talking to, I want to reiterate here that I'm talking to women who have already been doing, I think most of us know, transactional love, right? Which is what I'd probably say most relationships are, particularly between the male and the female, right? It's, you do this for me, I do this for you. We're together because you do this for me, I do this for you. Now, in a general way, that's not a problem, right? Because it's like, well, why are you here? Why am I here? Why are we in this relationship together? So generally speaking, if we're talking about at a uh, like a necessity survival level, it's like, well, yeah, shoot, you pay the bills, we need that, right? You cook and clean, right? And obviously this is one dynamic of relationship. There's so many ways to be in a relationship. I'm just using this one since it's so dominant in people's minds, right? So that's one, right? I pay the mortgage and pay for things, and you cook and clean and take care of, right? If he stops paying the bills, it's a problem, and maybe you want to leave. If she stops cooking and cleaning and giving you sex, it's a problem, and maybe you'll leave, right? So if this one or both of you stops doing those things, if that is the decline of the relationship, if a man says to you, I'm not paying these bills anymore. I'm not paying this mortgage. I'm not paying this water bill, this electricity, your car bill, and are you staying with him, right? And then vice versa. If she says, I'm no longer cooking, cleaning, and giving you sex, are you staying with her, right? So if you are, and there's something else holding you together, most likely outside of kids, right? Let's get into it. Okay, a mature conversation. Boom, then we start edging into the realm of unconditional love. And I'm going to tie this into what does this have to do with monetizing being too much? It connects. Also, if you're new here, over here at the Academy for Womanhood, we are actualized in multidimensionality. It's not something that just exists in our head. We are actualized in multidimensionality. So what that looks like is the way we talk, like the way I'm talking right now, the ability to have multiple conversations at one time, the ability to be in multiple places at one time. So, this is a power that most people don't want. Even the gods, the male gods don't even want it. I'm hearing, anyway, that's another conversation. Perhaps I'll bring that up here today. So transactional love versus true love, right? True love is where neither of us are earning the other's attention or approval or wanting to perform for the other or wanting to do certain things out of survival, scarcity, and fear to keep the other person. True love is, first of all, true love exists in the spiritual realm. You can't force it. It's not performative. It's not a trying to do and get and keep, and the way folks strangle each other in love and want to find ways to get people hooked and manipulated and attached so that they stay, so they don't leave. So, right? So when we start, true love is none of that. And so what's happening is so many of the women who I'm working with are either married, divorced, single, like never married, widowed, not many widows, but it's a thing, widowed. And they've been in typical relationships where he pays bills, she does, whatever the agreement is. And yet and still it's not true love. He doesn't want her in her full power. He doesn't want to grow up. I have a woman I'm working with right now who has 3 kids. She's married and she moved out and got her own place because her husband's energy is heavy. And this is a common thing. This is not abnormal. This is very common. And a true love, and this is one of the things that I respect and appreciate about Dr. Umar. He talked about this on a podcast. Did anybody hear this when he said, most of our brothers don't know how to be in true love with our sisters? He always says brothers and sisters. And he says, because I don't know if he used the word true love or real love, but he was talking about the real thing. And he was saying, true love is recognizing that you might not be the best man for her. She might not be real love is like letting somebody go because you recognize that you letting them go, them letting you go because they recognize that there's somebody else for them. You recognize that they would be better off with somebody else or whatever the dynamic is. And that's part of the reason why I left my marriage, because I knew what he wanted. I know women who know that their husbands are attached to them, are invested in them. can't live without them, so to speak, adore them. And he will stay, even if he's not getting his needs met, even if he's not going to get what he most wants out of the relationship. She will stay because she knows how he feels about her. That to me is extremely wicked, selfish, and evil. I could have done that. Okay, my ex-husband adored me. I knew what he wanted. Which one of the things that he really wanted was children. I knew I didn't want that. I could have easily stayed, kept making up excuses about why I'm not having children, or something else, or this or that, or whatnot. And he would have stayed. And he would have grown in bitterness and resentment. And this is a thing. This is very common in relationships, actually. It might not be with kids, but it might be with something else. It might be with kids. And I knew that he needed to be let go. That's not the only reason, but I knew that he needed to be let go for that reason. Now, that was incredibly painful. I was sad and in pain for a whole year. I gave up a good situation, a very good, when I talk about bills paid, didn't have to work, beautiful manicured house on a cul-de-sac in the suburbs, like the thing that, with a man who adores me, who respects me, who wants me in my power, all that, right? To the degree that I even knew of myself at that time. That's a whole other conversation. And my selflessness is one of the reasons in knowing what he wanted and knowing that I was not going to give him that. It's why I let him go. That's true love. Now, most people would be like, well, I don't know about most people, but a lot of people would be like, why you couldn't just, and why did you get married anyway? And just like all this questioning about, which I have answers to. But the point is continue the conversation about the women who I'm talking with behind closed doors have been in dynamics like this with a man who they know that they're not ideal fits for each other. But because they've been together for so long, because they have kids, because he's the financial provider and she would have to activate certain parts of herself, power, that she's unwilling to activate. And so because of that, they just choose to stay in a strangle dynamic where neither one of them are getting their needs met, but they they lock into something to make them, we're doing it for the kids, we're doing it for this, we're doing it for that. And while on the surface it looks good, one, it has a psychic impact on the children because children are much more intelligent than we give them credit for. So one, it has a psychic impact on the children. Two, true love provides solutions and answers that your rational mind could never give you. Three, it's deeply unfulfilling because this is your one life. So many people are so comfortable with wasting, like, you can complain all you want about the economy, raising rents, how expensive things are. You're alive. You have full control over your mind. You can do so much when you get this under control and you're complaining about the increase in rent and things are find another stream of income. Shift your mind to where you totally forget about all your limiting thoughts because you've created new ones based on clarifying your actual desire. What excites you, what makes you come alive, and you put so much energy on that you forget about your scarcity and, oh my God, the rent is so high and these bills. So the conversation of top billing is true love. And what that looks like in monetization terms, financially, one of the words that's coming up is a comfortable life, meaning a lot of money to pay for all the things I want. Okay, let's be clear. All the money, the abundance of money to pay for the help in the house, to pay for travel, to have my son go to certain schools, to be able to pay for when I travel with my son, he can be studying with Kumon and other online learning platforms while also studying with me while we're in different countries around the world. Investing, setting up investments for my son. So when he's of age, he has a cash pot to access to explore his life, his visions, his dreams. So comfort is coming up a lot. Authentic, unapologetic expression and what that looks like through a primal lens. Another conversation that has come up that I'm not going to talk much about publicly now, but the way so many of these women who have been in marriages with men or not married, like boyfriend, girlfriend relationships, where they want the man to open up more and he's unwilling to open up more. And there's an evilness in her, frankly. And she has not yet tapped into the high thing. And this is nuanced and detailed and fine, and you can, oh baby, if you dirty up in this, you're gonna get slapped up in the higher realms. Try it. Okay. Men are smarter than women give them credit for. Men are smart, they're intuitive, and so many women are so divided. I've talked a lot here about being a divided being, where so much about the truth of who you are is repressed, but then you have this whole way of being out here in the world that you have decided is the acceptable version of you. And so you enter a relationship with a man like that, or you're married to a man and you've been this way for so long. And oftentimes a man, depending on the man you're with, right? Like he might not know that you're hiding the whole time in the relationship in plain sight. And some men know, depending on how much he's paying attention to you, how intuitive he is, how much he cares. And you're in the relationship divided. You're in this relationship not in your own power. You're in this relationship playing small. And you want him to open up to you when he can see. He might not language it the way I would or the way you would language it. But he can see that there's let's say, a dirtiness about you, an immaturity about you, an evil about you. And he's unwilling to open up, okay? In the ways that you want him to, because so many women are looking for, and this is another aspect of it, part of them wants a feminine experience with a man. They want a feminine experience with a man, and you're not going to have a feminine experience with a man. Now, you can have a rich, dynamic experience with a man, obviously, right? Because many of us have had this. But they're looking for a quality of being with the man that they're not going to get with a man because he's a man, okay? Now, a woman, yes, right? And that's a whole other conversation. But the experience, and really the experience of yourself with that man, there's a cleanliness that's required. And even there's a submission also where, okay, so this is really fine and nuanced. I've talked here a lot about purity of heart, that when you're entering unknown terrain, your chief tool that's going to help you move through and stay there without abandoning ship, without ruining things, without, creating unnecessary disturbance and harm is purity of heart, because you know your intent for being there. Your intent for entering the unknown, or what you might call a mystical state, okay? You know your intent for doing it. And when you have a pure heart, reconciling your heart, and you enter the unknown, you can deal with what's happening and this and the emotional this and the chaos, you call it, all right? You can deal because you entered that mystical state with clear intent at a heart level. But essentially, the reason why I brought this up is because when I say some of you are filthy and evil, like the women who I'm working with, right? Filthy and evil. And when I say filthy and evil, I mean you're divided. And some women are, they know that they have a potential to harm a man, to, right? Because when a man falls for you, there's a way that you can harm him. I remember a boyfriend of mine saying to me, you can hurt me, because he knew how connected he was, how much he was into me. And he knew that if I wanted to harm him, that I could. And I didn't. The point is, this is when women are like, because one of the women said, like, I've connected with these men, married, but he's not opening to me, right? And it's much more nuanced than what I'm sharing right now. But the conversation about love and the true love that we want, it's a whole other terrain to enter. And it's high level. I was telling one of my members yesterday, I said, most women and men don't want the big game. You have to remember this. Most men and women don't want the big game. They might sort of dance around and use some of the language associated with the big game, and they'll have wisdom and knowledge, right? But most people don't want the unconditional love game. They don't want the true love game. They just want to feel good. They just want to feel like somebody loves them. And as long as it feels like, and for a lot of women, if a man just pays bills, if he, does certain things that to her, feels something in her, especially with women who have holes, for women who don't want to grow up, women who don't want to be responsible, self-sufficient, and he takes burdens off of her, he takes responsibilities off of her, he takes pressure off of her. For a lot of women, that translates as love, and that is not true love. True love moves things, it's penetrating, and I won't go further into that. So continuing along with what's conversations that are happening with folks' reinvention, including my own, in addition to the true love bit is, I said authentic expression, okay? And that authentic expression showing itself not only online, but in their careers where they work, right? Because so many of these women have actual jobs, and in their relationships with the men, with the kids, with mom, all the people in their life. So leveling up in their authentic expression. And I'll speak for myself. One of the things that is so much reconciliation with what is, with the reality of things, with looking at what I have seen, what has been a pattern, let's say over the last 5 years. And part of what I've been reconciling really over the last 6 months and really giving a lot of attention to over the last, say, month and a half, with coming to the other side now, so grateful, reconciling certain things and looking at, okay, so how do we move forward considering the reality of things? And while also still maintaining what I know, okay? Part of why I wanted to come live today was to begin to talk about this reinvention for myself and the women who I'm working with, to begin to talk about monetizing what it says here on the screen about monetizing being too much, also monetizing being a threat, monetizing being perceived as a threat, monetizing scaring people, which is an energy, and harnessing that energy into your chosen career, harnessing that and wielding it out in the world in your way of being. And for those of you who, like one of my members said yesterday, I want my power. Okay, I want my power. And I have Shadow Gold here on the screen. And for my YouTube viewers, the link to Shadow Gold is in the description. Shadow Gold is there because that's the chief tool. That's the foundational tool. Shadow Gold is going to be revamped, where I'm adding the woman community to it for 2025. And that's going to be the foundational tool. That was actually the original intent when I created it. It's the foundational tool for coming into your power. Okay, it's just essential. I want to talk a bit about really discerning, speaking to the separation. As I said to one of my members yesterday, not all women want to play the big game of their life. And also, okay, so we're gonna have some intersecting conversations. It's gonna sound like I'm talking about multiple things, but they all intersect. So one aspect is, it's now time for us to develop the skill to be in physical space with each other as we're unleashing potent primal energy. We do not know how to do this yet. When I say us, I mean melanin dominant men and melanin dominant women who are the gods, okay? Now, we are very unfamiliar with this. So that's one piece of the conversation. Another piece of the conversation is having, and this is going to take a lot of work. There's going to be content and so much more to come throughout 2025, all of the distractions that get in the way of us existing in power. Now I'm going to say a bit. So I said one, here's another one. Okay. I want to say a bit about the second one before I go on. This is really going to be for not average melanin dominant. And all of it is essentially, although it's going to trickle down. So when I'm talking, I'm thinking always about the primary folks who I'm serving, meaning who I expect to be buying from me because I see and I know. And then there's the trickle down effect. And with all of us who are of this essence that I'm talking about, when you do your actual work in the world, there's a trickle down effect to the masses. Okay. And so, a lot of the conversations that you all are seeing online, they're loud, they're everywhere, right? There's the red pill movement. There's all of the like Christian conversations. There's, all the typical Black conversations that are stale and nobody's getting anywhere with it because it's all distraction. That's what all of it is. It's distraction. And nobody is getting to the real thing, which is true love. Okay? Nobody's getting to the real thing, which is connection. And so in order for us to even exist, because we want it's out here. We're just scattered and nobody has had the freaking audacity to come online and talk. First of all, because so many people are just not pure. So many people are not pure. So they're afraid to come online and talk about really potent, high level content that if you're not clean around it, you can't last and you can't really live up here. Yet there are many of us who are ready to be in these spaces. You just need a solid leader to actually do it. You need an unapologetic, fierce, solid leader to do it. Like, am I the only one that's like, isn't this fucking evident? Anybody here? Like, what the fuck are they? And so many melanin dominant women are waiting for melanin dominant men. You need to understand the shit is so upside down. They're not going to lead it. The results are showing us that. Is anybody here has thought these exact things that I'm saying right now? Just look around. Just look around. Okay. No, I'm not saying there's not some melanin dominant male gods. Like one of my members sent me a link of a guy yesterday. He's married. Him and his woman is doing their thing. I have no idea what that actually looks like and, boom, boom, boom. And that's them. What about the more of us? The real movement around I wouldn't even call it complicated. It's dynamic all the time. Being a melanin dominant being, female and male, who feels inherently superior. So on the one hand, you have this physical exterior of being Black, right? So when everybody sees you, they think basic Black shit, which in my experience and the feeling is there's this veil. Like when we look at each other out in the world, anywhere, right? We're just out at the gas station, when we look out, there's just a Black person. And with that, it's like a whole, if we think about, like on the Matrix, numbers in reality, right? And it's like when we see a Black person, it's almost like a web of ideas placed on that being that neither one of us put there, but we have been programmed to see each other through this veil. So we're the distrust veil, the fear veil, the fill in the blank, the like instant whatever it could be, love, war, right? And for most of us, the love really comes because we are connected with ourselves. I mean, I'm telling you, so much of my awareness of this shit going on with Black people is the result of dealing with Black people. It has not been my actual experience of myself, how I see and looking at other Black people. It's been, I go deal with Black people or people, I'm saying Black people, but people, and Black people are people through as an energy, but then they come and deal with me through the veil, and with their interaction with me, I gain the awareness of how they're seeing other Black people. Does that make sense? so much of my experience of like coming to know how Black people think is by interacting with Black people. It's not that it's been my actual experience. It's wild. So like, and I see there's multiple pieces here. I moved to Houston. I was born and raised in San Francisco. I'm not saying there's not racism in San Francisco. I remember the first time I experienced racism, I was like 20, something like that, right? Now, I knew racism existed before then, but I had never experienced it personally, okay? So the first time I experienced it personally, I was in San Francisco and I was more flabbergasted than anything, and then followed by rage. But my point is, because I didn't have what I've found to be so many, maybe like the average, like 8 out of 10 Black people's is in their formative years, or even up, from birth up until adulthood, there's so much racism. There's so much, as I learned when I moved to Houston, it's baked into the culture. And the level of culture shock that oh my God. I mean, people were saying shit to me like, why are you going over there? Like in Houston, there's a wealthy part of town called River Oaks, right? And I found out about River Oaks because when I got to Houston, I moved there not knowing anybody. And so I've always been ambitious. Also, I've always been a go-getter. And so when I got there, I was like, okay, so how am I going to get to know what's going on in this city? So I started reading newspapers, magazines. Social media was not a big thing yet. Facebook was really new, and that was the only thing that was out, like Facebook and I think MySpace, like old shit. And so I was reading magazines, newspapers, and I found out about this fundraiser called Heroes for Handbags. And I was excited about it because of the handbag part. And I'm into fashion, and I read about it and I said, oh, this looks super cool. So keep in mind, I'm new to this town. I know nothing about the wealthy parts, the poor parts, the nothing. I live in the Galleria, which is where the mall is. I live like 2 miles from the mall on Westheimer. And so I look at the ad in this nice magazine. I call the number on the inside the ad, and I offer myself to volunteer. They're like, yes, great. We need volunteers, blah, blah, blah. This is, come this time, da, da, da. So I show up. It's a country club, right? I don't know this when I get there, right? It's a country club. It's gorgeous. It's all the wealthy white people are there. And this is the first time that I find out about River Oaks, right? And I remember going there before I go there and then learning more about the lay of the land in Houston. And I would meet Black people who I was building relationships with, and I would tell them where I'm going, what I'm doing. They'd be like, why are you going over there? And at first I didn't catch what was going on. And then when I caught what was going on, I was like, oh my God. So like, this is that. It felt like some movie shit. What are you doing on this side of town? It felt like one of those like racist ass movie scenes. And then shit like, even my boyfriend, because I got a boyfriend, and he would be like, because I'm telling you, I was on it. I was so excited to build my life and start a business and shit. So I was making money. I was doing it. And he got mad at me. He was born and raised in Houston. And he was like, you got all these white people giving you all this money. And in my mind, it was like, I'm excited to make the money, but I never even thought like, oh, these white people giving me all this money, And my point is, and I got so many stories about the culture shock and the like, what the fuck? Living in Houston. I remember calling my mom. I was living in Houston, and my mom used to subscribe. When I was a teenager, she subscribed to like Ebony and Essence and all of that. And we used to read it. And I remember it used to say stuff like, 67% of Black women this, and 50% of Black men this, and that. And like, we would be like sitting in the living room reading it together or talking about it. And I'd be like, Mom, so I read something about 67% of Black women this. And she said, yeah, I read that too. And we'd be like, we don't even know any Black women who fit this. And just I'd be like, wow. So what happened when I moved to Houston and I was having all these experiences? I remember calling my mom in California and being like, Mom, those women we was reading about in Essence? They're here. They're here in Houston. It was like that. And I was just like, wow. So this is what that did for me. It helped me see how much of the Black mind is a program. Because it's not a Black thing, it's the program. Because if it was a Black thing, it would be in my mind too. Because I'm Black too, okay? So that's one thing. It really let me see in real world reality that, oh, this is how the program works. It also helped me to start to get frequency, because there's a frequency in the South. There's very much a frequency in the South. And then depending on which South we're talking about, okay? Houston never felt like a place where lynchings occurred. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying Houston didn't feel like a place where lynchings occur. Now, Beaumont, which was over an hour from Houston, where I had a friend who I came up with as a teenager in San Francisco, where her family was from. Now, that felt like a place where lynchings happened. And versus if you go to Mobile, Alabama, or some parts of Virginia or Mississippi. Girl, I have zero interest in going to Mississippi. You hear me? Or Mobile, Alabama. The energy, I haven't even been there, and I can feel an energy of lynching. And I've never even been there, and I can feel it remotely. And so having that experience of being born and raised in San Francisco and then moving to Houston, and right, it was the first time in my adult life, because I moved to Houston when I was like 26. It was the first time in my adult life that I felt frequency so viscerally, and actually experiencing it through dealing with the local people and what just seemed to be normal. Like nobody actually talked about it, but it was baked into the culture. It just was normal. This was just how, and everybody just sort of knew this is how it goes. And you know, it's just sort of like when you work for a new company, you're the fresh blood, right? So when you come in, you see shit that the people who've been working there for 2, 3, 4 years don't see anymore because they've been living there. So they've gotten normal and comfortable with the culture. And so this thinking right here, right? Us interrogating ourselves with love. This came up in a conversation yesterday. My member said, I want to be reflected back to with love. And as we're entering these terrains where we're going to start sharing physical space together, melanin dominant men and women, the gods who are sincere about getting rid of all the shit that gets in the way. Okay, so we can monetize, so we can be in love, so we can create, so we can express, so we can be connected without trying to connect through this veil that acts as a blinder to our ability to see each other with clear eyes. And I don't instantly look at you as the enemy. I don't instantly look at you as a threat. I don't instantly look at you as something to distrust, because you're looking at me through the very veil that them Southern motherfuckers put on, that the very essence that Trump represents, right? Trump is the epitome of whiteness. That whiteness and what it has spewed out for centuries. Make America great again. We all know is code for make America white again. Get rid of these colored people. Get rid of all the benefits that the colored people got through the civil rights movement that they don't even know they have because of the civil rights movement. And the veils, their presence, and what the brutality that they inflicted on this country, and the veils that created, sort of like a child who gets traumatized and they're a pure slate, right? Oh, you pure, wonderful, beautiful golden child, right? And then you get sexually abused, or you watch your mother get beat, or you're raised by a mother who resents having you, right? And whatever the trauma is, right? Your father is mean and brutal, right? And then in order for you to get along, you have to put some kind of veil up because the pain becomes so intense. You split Okay? And you become, this is how so many of us become divided. You become the you that is acceptable enough to daddy or mommy or whoever your caretaker is, and then the you back here. And so you walk around with this sort of veil, and there's so many different kinds of veils. You walk around with this veil, and then so when you come out here in the world, you can't show up powerfully because you're a divided being. Similarly, with whiteness becoming an insidious thing, whoa, that's a whole knowledge right there. So much code in that. Becoming such an insidious thing in the minds of humans worldwide, just whiteness everywhere. Asian people bleaching their skin, Africans, Filipinos bleaching their skin because whiteness has become insidious globally. Not, white people, as Amanda Seals would say, not just white people are born white, but the Make America Great Again posse. Him and the whole clan talking about shithole this and Puerto Rico dirty this and all of this and that, right? Because of the way whiteness robs and steals and rapes and pillages everything. And so one of the insidious ways that it has poisoned melanin dominant folks, because it's poisoned all of humanity, but the ways that it's poisoned melanin dominant folks is the infliction, the violent infliction on the humanity of the individual. And all of us knowing it because we read it, knowing it because we've inherited it, knowing it because we've heard stories from our grandparents and great-grandparents, knowing it because perhaps you live in Mobile, Alabama, or some southern place where the energy is still there. You know it, though. You feel it in your bones, right? And in that pain, in that trauma, in that inheritance, in that heartbreak, there's a veil of sorts, and this is how the program works, where we're programmed to look at each other through the lens that whiteness put there. So instead of here's another example from Houston. Oh my God, the veil. Like, excuse me, sir? So I told you when I moved to Houston, I didn't know anybody. And at the time, I was loving that movie, Something's Gotta Give, with Diane Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Anybody here know that movie? And I used to watch that movie all the time before I moved to Houston, and I really liked it. And so in my apartment in Houston, Rose says she loves that movie. I love that movie. And so what I would do, because I didn't know anybody in Houston when I moved there, what I would do when I was leaving the apartment, and I thought that I would be back within an hour or so, is I would turn the movie on and then leave, so when I got back, it would be on, okay? Just to give me comfort, okay? So just make a note that that's how much I love this movie, right? So I go to some business establishment, I don't remember what it was, but I remember I go in and there's a TV that's mounted up on this TV stand, and what's playing? Something's Gotta Give, right? So I walk in, and keep in mind, like, how many of you have ever moved to a new state by yourself? Anybody here ever moved to a new state by yourself? Oh, good point, Chris. They want the veil to be reality for everyone. Oh, wow. Rose says, I can tell from his algorithm my husband sees me through the veil, even if he doesn't know it. Oh, my God. That's another topic. Thank you for sharing that, Rose Gold Goddess. So anyway, if you ever move anywhere by yourself, another state, another country, it's isolating. It's like you're alone, okay? And so I'm already feeling this aloneness, right? I'm on this adventure alone in another state. I don't know anybody. And I'm doing different things to draw comfort for myself, right? And that movie is played to give me comfort, okay? So naturally, when I see this, I'm in this foreign city, I walk into this business establishment, the movie is playing, and instantly I'm like, I light up because comfort, something familiar, right? And there's a Black man there, like he's the person to handle you when you walk into this business. I don't remember what the business was. And I remember I walked in, I saw the TV on the stand and I had my reaction. And I remember I looked over to him and he was like, as if I was like fronting or weird. Who knows, right? It felt like he was like, as if my reaction wasn't sincere. You see what I'm saying? And then he was like, what movie is that? And he meant it. He wasn't joking. You know how you can tell when somebody just sort of joking, like, right? He was sincere, like, quit fronting. Wait a minute. Because the veil, because his own mind, because the insidiousness of automatically looking at somebody with suspicion, distrust. Yeah, it's really like that. And he was like, what movie is that? I was like, something's got to give. And I didn't even deal with the business. I just left out. Sir, I don't want it. Okay. And this dealing with each other, it's going to take a lot of work. And here's the thing. As I was talking to one of my community members yesterday, only true love has the drive. Only true love has the drive. Anger. So MLK was right when he said hate cannot drive out hate. He was right when he said that. You can't drive out hate with hate. For those of you who have been in the streets, you go kill somebody, they people want to come kill somebody in your clan, then you want to go kill somebody in their clan, then they want to come kill somebody in your clan, and that should be going on for fucking generations. Hate don't draw out hate. It took me a while to realize why. Because so many times throughout my life, I've asked myself, and I'll get back here, hold on. Why has this been my path? So often I've been in foreign terrain. So often I've been the only woman, the only Black woman, the only young person, right? The only person who thinks like this. Like so often, and I know a big part of this is because I've lived the forbidden, adventurous path forever. And also though, it's so I could be practically and real world skilled with doing something that a being has to be in expanded capacity experientially to be able to do. Love sounds good. It's like love, I want a partner, I want a partner, I want a husband, I want a covering, I want love, I want connection, all that. True love, most of us, we can't even handle. We can't, our nervous system can't handle it. Not really. One, because we're looking at each other through veils. Two, most of us fundamentally are disconnected from our inherent wealth. When you're disconnected from your inherent wealth, you never sincerely trust your connection with people. Mm-hmm. You always have to create an attachment, and you start doing sneaky, tricky things to try to get the person to bond to you in unnatural ways, in survival-based ways. You know, a man paying you to keep you around, a man telling you you're not going to be nothing without me, you can't do this without me, you need me, creating false roles for himself in your life. All that is scarcity, survival, fear-based love, okay? Or a woman, pulling at a man's strings. I was watching Red Witch Thing's video this morning, and she was saying how women intentionally make themselves sick to get their man's attention, for him to prove, or even for evil reasons, to like pull his energy away from things. Just all the ways that when a person is lacking a fundamental connection with their inherent wealth, which is what I'm actually having us do with Shadow Gold and all the work that we do. So you have fundamental inherent wealth so that your connections are true. They're pure. You can let people in. You can stay in connection, and you can have actual spiritual marriage. Not survival, scarcity based. I'm scared he's gonna leave, she's gonna leave. Kind of. And I know most people don't want that, okay? because the counterintuitive, as I've said many times, that real power is counterintuitive. On the path to true love is the experience of so much unlove. And when you are loving, and you call yourself being loving with that fundamental sense of fundamental lack of connection with inherent wealth, you will constantly see unlove as wrong, bad, I'm going the wrong way. When in truth, true love, when that's the true North Star, what you're doing, and maybe you've heard this quote. Who said this quote? Who knows the person who said this quote? And maybe that doesn't matter. But the quote was, it's not about, oh Lord. Ooh. It's not about finding love. It's about getting everything out of the way that obstructs love. True love. How many of y'all want that? How many of you are willing to traverse all the unlove? How many of you are willing to leave whatever your relationship is with whoever, where you know that person is going to stay because it's convenient, because they're scared to go live, because you've been together so long, because you have kids? And I'm not saying that, you want to have a single parent household or like breaking up a family, but there's so many ways to have family. And I won't even get into the malnourished construct of the nuclear family. That is not the ideal way for melanin dominant men and women with kids to be in family. That's another conversation for another time. However, are you willing to be selfless and exhibit the true love that Dr. Umar talked about, where in true love, you will let somebody go when you know that you are not best for them or they are not best for you, and be willing to lose all the benefits that come with being them? You see what I mean? You see what I mean? And this, you see why I say so many of us don't want the true game of love, and how this ties into so much. Okay, so boom, I'll leave that there, and I'll come back to the conversations being had, the reconciliation that I'm having within myself, the veils that are needing to be penetrated, that will be penetrated, and that who this is for. I have an alarm to call somebody. Who this is for, okay? Because for the ones who are not here for the big game, it's not for them, because their survival is based on the veil. Their survival is based on attachment. Their survival is based on the constructs they've agreed to and or created for themselves. So I'm going to talk about this and start to infuse it into more of my content in different ways. And I want the men to know, I'm telling you, if you are not, and you can't fake this, if you are not at a heart level and true dedication to your true calling, you are, I was going to say, problem, threat, not to be trusted. Problem, threat, not to be trusted. Problem, threat, not to be trusted. Now, that's fluid, mainly because none of us really know the sincerity of your heart. What we know is what you do over time. Okay, we know what you do over time. And it's really important that we start having these conversations that are devoid of the stale conversations that have us out of power. I'll just say right here, right now, I am not in favor of the nuclear family. Not for the gods. I am not in favor. Here's the family I'm in favor of, the true spiritual family where true love lives, meaning that could be 6 people, that could be 4 women, 2 men. That could be, right? The point is the numbers don't matter. What matters is true love. And you, because when we are clean and purified, we know who we are supposed to be in connection with. Again, most of us don't want that kind of connection because it depends on you being clean and true and powerful. And most of us are not sincere about being clean and true and powerful. But what we're sincere about is making sure we're in agreement with these systems that make America white again promotes, the energy that it represents, binding, controlling constructs to make sure we know where you are, what values you live by, what binds you're in, so we are able to maintain our dominance in this world, in this country, in this state, in this nation. So I am very much for the gods. Nuclear family is not it. Okay? Nuclear family is not it. If you either are if you cannot engage in conversation with me about this at a nuanced level, at a scientific level, you know, the X and Y, the primal, the natural, the heart, the true cleanliness, like true reality and honesty, it's not gonna work. And it's not about debating, it's about let's go all the way down up in this thing. Let's go. What is the reality? How much are you, when I say you, I mean literally you and anybody else who's out in the world, how much are you fighting to maintain an unnatural reality? How much are you fighting to deny you? And you see how nuanced this could get? Because maybe it's like the mind could go, well, I'm denying sugar because I have a goal, right? So we're not talking about these surface level mortal denials. We're talking about your deep primal aspect that connects you to full erotic power in the spiritual realm. Like you cannot exist in true love if you need to bind yourself to a construct that is an extension of suppressive systems. So for the melanin dominant women who are genuine about authentic expression in their relationships, in their content, in their calling, you know your messaging needs to be cleared up. That's a big part of the monetization here because you do want to monetize. You have coaching packages and digital products and books and things you want to sell. And in order to sell them, people have to want them. In order for people to want them, you have to be in the power, the clarity of voice, the authentic expression to be able to communicate about them in your content, wherever that content is in whatever way, podcast, YouTube, Facebook, etc. And so if that is on your priority list and a necessity for you for 2025 in your reinvention, you need to get Shadow Gold today. One of the things that's not on the website now, but it will be added there. And so anybody who buys Shadow Gold today is you're going to get access to the woman community for the next 6 months. That's so amazing. You're going to get access to the woman community for the next 6 months. So you've heard me talk a lot about it. The woman community is $99 a month, but it's going to be included with Shadow Gold starting in 2025. So you'll only be buying Shadow Gold, okay? The unapologetic and authentic expression in your relationships and in your content. If true love is top billing for you, first with yourself, okay? One of the things that one of my members said to me yesterday is, when I got to module 2 inside of Shadow Gold, I wanted to start getting the anger out, is what she said. She said, I wanted to be able to communicate without anger, and I wanted to get the anger out. And so, that is a version of cleaning oneself up to be in true love, first with yourself and then with others, okay? Okay, so now's a good time to ask questions. What I'll say in closing, now's the time to post questions if you have not and you want to. You can get Shadow Gold right now with the link in my bio, as it says here on the screen. If you're watching this on YouTube, the link for Shadow Gold is in the description here on YouTube. I would like to have conversations for the rest of this year, okay? I'm doing this primarily for the rest of this year. If you have been following my content for some time, or even if you're new, when I say new, I mean last month, you found me in the last month, and you'd like to have a conversation about how one of my products can serve your immediate need, urgent need for your voice, your communication, and your content, the power that you need to whatever it is, right, you're looking to do. There's so many women are doing so many wonderful things, starting their dancing careers, their singing careers, writing books, cranking up their content for the first time, starting a podcast, getting serious about YouTube. So many women are doing so much. What all of them want is authentic expression, like really being raw and true. And so if you know that the primal deep pussy of you, okay, just like the riveting raw of you, full body, full heart, full throat, full being is required in your content to sell your books, to have people enroll in things, to become magnetic and undeniable, you want to get shadow gold. Okay, you want to get shadow gold, and let's have a conversation to discuss how any of my products can help you, whether it's shadow gold, heal your witch wound, and all of these can be found at the link in my bio. Okay? So if you'd like to have a conversation with me, you can DM me here on TikTok. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a link in the description to book a call with me, okay? And again, I'm really having these calls open to the public, okay, the general public for the rest of this year in this way. I don't normally do this, so you want to take advantage of this, okay? This is world-class mentorship and attention that you can have. So again, I'm doing that for this year, out for the public to have, so I don't normally do this. So if you have found tremendous value and life-changing insight in my content, if that's you and you'd like to have a conversation about how any of our products at the link in my bio can help you with your reinvention for 2025, you go to the link in my bio and everything is there. And then you can DM me on TikTok to book a call, okay? Again, you can DM me here on TikTok to book a call. If you are watching this on YouTube, there's a link in the description to book a call. And then lastly, I'm gonna be, for the rest of this year, I know that for sure, we'll see what 2023, the first month of the year, is still being mapped out. But for the rest of this year, I'll be going live quite a bit here on TikTok. And because we don't know what's happening with TikTok, right? My plan is to go live quite significantly. This could change, but I'm just telling you this now, until for the month of January. Part of what I've reconciled, because it's for some of you, your frustration about things, your anger about things, your resentment about things is getting in the way of you going deeper into the actual power. And for some of you, you like to hang out in frustration and anger and fear because it gives you an out. Like that's your story for why you're not doing the thing. When you get behind deeper than that and you start to access, which happens in reconciliation, there's so much freedom in that. Oh, so much freedom. It's exhausting being frustrated and angry all the time, afraid. And folks, it's like when you are not in your power, genuinely, there's a kind of lack of fulfillment and that energy power. So fear becomes your cheap dopamine source. It's like, right? It's like, it's the only way. See, that's the limitation of it. Oh, it becomes your, you want to be scared. It's like, humans are clever as fuck and kinky. Lots of love. Thank you all so much for being here, for liking, engaging, all the things. And I look forward to seeing you quite a bit more for the month of December. Lots of love. Happy holidays. Happy holidays. And take good care of yourselves. Okay? Ciao.